Today on Titans Today, we talk about the new defensive coordinator candidate that the Titans interviewed today. We're going to talk about what his resume looks like and why he could be a perfect fit for the Tennessee Titans organization. Along with, it's been the talk of Titans Twitter, and we're going to keep talking about it right here on Titans Today. Tee Higgins, the latest on what we can expect and if the Titans are actively going to pursue him after hiring Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. But I will say this. I know the past 2 days we've talked about T, and overall it's been pretty good success. I've seen the comments. People are liking the video. So let's see how much you like this. If you are liking Tee Higgins and you want him to become a Tennessee Titan, well, then do me a favor. Go down there and like the video because that knows and tells me exactly what y'all want. We can tell you pretty much every day the latest and what is going on with Tee Higgins. So go down there, let me know. Like the video if you want Tee Higgins to become a Tennessee Titan. Today, though, we start off with the Titans interviewing a defensive coordinator, Dennard Wilson. He is actually the defensive back coach for the Baltimore Ravens, and now he's potentially going to be a defensive coordinator somewhere. The Giants also interviewed him for their DC slot, but his resume, well, it speaks for itself. He's been in the NFL since 2012. He was a DB's coach with the Rams, the Jets, the Eagles, now the Ravens. He was also some defensive assistants all around with the Rams and Jets before getting that defensive backs job. But he has been a really, really good asset in the past couple years to the Eagles and to the Ravens. How much of an asset? Let's just look at their splits in terms of passing yards allowed, given he is the defensive backs coach. Well, with Philadelphia, he made James Bradbury actually a good corner when now he can't even tackle. So that's one thing. 171.6 yards per game in terms of passing. Yeah, that was first in the NFL in terms of yards allowed. Without Wilson, yeah, the Eagles, 30th, 29 there in the difference. 29. Meanwhile, the Ravens last year, they were 23rd in passing yards allowed per game. This year, guess what? They're 6th. Kyle Hamilton is doing an amazing job, and there's just a lot of things that he has been able to basically adjust with the Baltimore Ravens to make them a better team in a lot of different facets. I think that's exactly why this would be a good hire, because we've talked about how the Titans organization has done okay at manifesting, or maybe growing is the better word, defensive linemen, along with linebackers to a point. You had Azeez Shire come in here and play really well, but in terms of linemen, Denico Autry has been great. Jeffrey Simmons has been great. But the defensive backs have kind of lacked in that. Christian Fulton never turned out to be what we thought he would be. You also have Roger McCreary, didn't exactly play the greatest. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting was actually pretty nice. I think that he was a little bit more underrated than people mostly thought. But the fact that he could come in here and potentially kind of grow that and make that better, along with being the defensive coordinator, I think that would make a big difference for a lot of different facets for this Titans organization. And I think the bigger reason why he is probably being talked about is there is some connection here. That's old Titans head coach Mike Fisher with Jeff Fisher with Dennard Wilson. And I think you're questioning, well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, it's not just Fisher. Wilson is a former undrafted defensive back in 2004, that begun coaching with the Los Angeles Rams in 2012 as a defensive quality control coach. After 3 seasons in that role, Wilson was promoted to defensive backs coach in 2015 through 2016. Wilson spent that entire 5-year tenure with the Rams alongside Titans general manager Ran Carthon. Whoa there. Who served as director of player personnel. That was former Titans coach Jeff Fisher that gave Wilson his start in coaching. This seems like a good fit to me. I think overall we've kind of hit the basic points that he's been able to improve the places that he's gone to be a defensive backs coach. And on top of which, there's connection. Ran Carthon knows him. Ran Carthon has worked with him in prior experiences. And Brian Callahan seems like he wants to really rebuild his entire staff. Shane Bowen, all them, I think they may be out. I don't think that Brian Callahan is going to allow them to stay. I think he's going to just say, hey, we're going to come in here. We're going to try and clean house for the most part and see what Ran Carthon says. Obviously, Bowen could stay on in a different way. We don't exactly know what's going to happen with that. But as of right now, they're actively interviewing for a defensive coordinator position. And I like Dennard Wilson. I think he could fit this role perfectly. And like I said, defensive backs have kind of been of a struggle. So if you can make that a point of emphasis in your hire for the coordinator position, that could easily be fixed, knowing you're going to have Simmons next year and potentially Denico Autry as well. I asked this question. Do you want the Titans to have Dennard Wilson? Maybe it's not exactly the guy you thought they would hire. Maybe there's someone else you thought that would make more sense. Well, Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Type Y for yes if you like what you've heard here on Titans Today about Dennard Wilson. You would want him to be the next Titans defensive coordinator. Or are you saying, let's hold off, he's just the first guy, let's stay in for now and not exactly take him just yet? Y for yes if you want Dennard Wilson, in for no. There is one deterrent with all this, and I think it's a big one. Right now, he obviously works with the Ravens. Well, their defensive coordinator is getting interviews across the land for head coaching positions. If Mike Macdonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, were to get hired somewhere else as a head coach, the idea in the Baltimore organization is that it'll be Dennard Wilson taking over as the head coach. As the defensive coordinator. I think right now that possibility is somewhat slim. We'll have to see, but the Titans could entice him to Nashville right now. How long will they have to do that? That kind of depends on how long Mike Macdonald has to go away from the job. If you can hire him right away, then he'll probably take it, because there's no guarantee that Macdonald goes off and goes to a different place. You get a defensive coordinator job with a new head coach, you're going to have a lot of control, especially when an offensive head coach is there. If you're DC, you're going to get really good control of that defense. You can get control of buying your tickets if you go to Game Time, and they have a special deal going on right now. If you're going to the big game here in a couple weeks in Vegas, then guess what? You can use Vegas 100 to get $100 off that ticket. So go use that big game code, Vegas 100. And it's not just that, as well as you can go check out a lot of different things, but there's a lot of things you can do with $100 in Vegas. I'm telling you right now, you could probably turn that $100 that you saved into $2,000. There's a lot of ways. But if you can't go to that, that's okay. There's a lot of stuff that Game Time offers, and it's not just sports. They've got music, comedy events, theater events, and concerts as well. I know they got Vanderbilt basketball, Nashville Predators are still going on. NHL season is in full swing, so go check out one of those games. And if you want to get some off that, well, you can use code TitansChat to get $20 off your first purchase with that. So it's a really good deal, and I'm telling you, go check it out right now. Game Time's app is super, super user-friendly. And honestly, it's one of the easiest apps to buy tickets for any type of event. I get my tickets, and I'm telling you, literally less than 2 clicks. Go check it out at Game Time and get that code TitansChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code TitansChat for $20 off. Or if you're headed to that big game and you want $100 off, that could potentially be turned into a lot more, well, then use code VEGAS100 for your $100 off that big game. Let's talk about the TT. See what I did there? We're going to talk about T going to Tennessee and kind of the latest on that, because I know that's a lot of what Titans Twitter is talking about right now, or Titans X, whatever you want to call it. At the same time, we got to keep talking about it, because there was something that was kind of floating around today that I thought was interesting. The Titans actually could have drafted Tee Higgins back in 2020, and they were really close, honestly closer than I thought, and in hindsight, it probably would have been the better pick. Let's go flashback here to the 2020 NFL Draft, where the Titans were 29th overall after obviously making it to the AFC Championship. And guess what? There was this. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle, was taken. Then you got Igbinoghene. There we go. Jeff Gladney, and then Clyde Edwards-Helarie, and then, of course, Tee Higgins being the first pick in the second round at number 33 overall. That kind of stinks, because you could have had T right there. And the biggest thing that the Bengals have is they got Jamar Chase, whereas Isaiah Wilson, yeah, he's a free agent. He's not playing. So you kind of just, I'm not going to say wasted a first-round pick, but you definitely didn't use that properly. So as of right now, that seems like, oh, we could have gotten T then. Now, in terms of wide receiver free agents, we've talked about Tee Higgins, but what are some other options floating around? What are some guys that maybe could take the pressure off T a little bit and potentially push them to other suitors and maybe draw T more to Tennessee? Well, Mike Evans is probably the number one guy that people are looking at. Even though he is 30 years old, 10 straight years of 1,000 yards, I don't care how old you are. You're getting a big contract coming up. Michael Pittman Jr., honestly, I think Pittman will probably stay with Indianapolis, but I still think, again, he is a free agent. You got to put him up there. Tee Higgins at number 3, and then I think there's a pretty severe drop-off after that. The top 3, I think, could probably be kind of flipped and flopped around in this. Then it goes to Marquise Brown, who is good, not great. His speed has been key, and then obviously Calvin Ridley. We've talked a lot about Tee Higgins, but I'm kind of curious to see, just pick a wide receiver. Let's play GM here. Just see what you can do. Would you like to have Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr., or Tee Higgins as your wide receiver, just kind of in a fantasy land? Which one of these would you rather have if you're starting in a roster and you're picking your first wide receiver? Mike Evans, I want you to type E for Evans. Pittman, type P for Pittman. H for Tee Higgins. Let's talk about these guys in terms of stats, because honestly, it's not really fair to compare T this year, obviously playing just 12 games, but Pittman and Evans both over 1,000 yards, and I think that's why T is ranked as the number 3 guy. Pittman, though, did have a later injury. Evans had a couple of drop problems in the last little bits of the week that may or may not have caused some frustration with Baker Mayfield. He also had 13 touchdowns, though. That's the big key that is different from Pittman and Higgins. 13 touchdowns compared to 4 for Pittman, but Higgins still had 5 in less games than Michael Pittman Jr. Tee Higgins is definitely going to give you the most bang for your buck here. And the reason I say that, you have Tee Higgins with the Bengals, who, on top of which you already have the Bengals offensive coordinator as your head coach now. But you also have to realize Ja'Marr Chase has taken a lot away from Tee Higgins. Tee Higgins was drafted in 2020, played the 1 year without T with Joe Burrow. And then after that, guess what? Ja'Marr came into the picture and really stole the show. Had one of the best rookie seasons ever, followed it up with a great second year. This year, they kind of were both in and out, injured, didn't exactly mesh well. So that's kind of that. But if you look at the numbers that T put up when healthy with Ja'Marr Chase, just imagine the numbers he could put up as the wide receiver 1. Because that's technically probably what he would be with the Titans. I know DeAndre Hopkins is great, but I think T would probably overstep him as the wide receiver 1. And we saw what Tee Higgins looked like without Ja'Marr Chase even this year against the Steelers a couple weeks ago, back in week 15 or 16, whatever it was. He had an amazing catch that really kind of sparked that Bengals offense with Jake Browning. So I'm thinking right now Tee Higgins overall is going to make you a lot more profit in terms of what you're going to pay him, whereas Mike Evans and Pittman are probably going to be a little more expensive, and I don't exactly know how long Mike Evans has. And Pittman just is a little concerning and a little bit of, well, a lot of it of facets, to be quite honest with you. We do appreciate you watching, though, as always. And I'm telling you, if you want more Tee Higgins stuff, you want a lot of stuff, well, then guess what? Come down here, like the video, because I certainly want to know if you're liking it. That means we're doing a good job here. And hey, we know exactly what we can do for the next video, couple videos coming up. We appreciate you, as always, Titans fans. Tighten up.